Everybody, welcome to this week's Railsplitter Athletics Report. Thanks to Adam Haley for taking over the spotlight last week and covering the show. He's on the show with us again tonight, and we've got a very special edition of the Railsplitter Athletics Report in the fact that we will be talking LMU sports, but we'll primarily be focusing on the upcoming South Atlantic Conference men's and women's basketball tournaments, and we'll take a look on down the line into the NCAA men's and women's regionals. Scott Erland is one of our guests on the show tonight. Adam Haley again rejoins us behind the mic, and we've got a next couple of weeks. It's just going to be a nightmare in terms of sports information, athletic training, and the LMU Sports Network. So it's going to be an unbelievable stretch here for LMU athletics over the next couple of weeks. A lot going on in other LMU sports, and Scott Erland's going to update us on some of that. We'll talk a little bit about the softball, baseball, tennis, golf, etc. On down the line, lacrosse thrown in there, and it's all coming up next right here on this week's Railsplitter Athletics Report. Stay with us.
Whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, Subway of Harrigan and Middlesboro has your fresh interest at heart. On your way to work, try one of our mouth-watering breakfast sandwiches or flatbread omelets. If it's lunch or dinner you're after, choose from a wide selection of classic, select, or premium sandwiches that are all made specifically to order. Serving a crowd, Subway also has sandwich platters, giant subs, box lunches, and even cookie platters. Be it dine in or carry out, you can eat healthy and eat fresh at Subway. 368 Catawba Avenue in Harrigan and on the corner of the Village Square Mall, Middlesboro. You love your car or truck? Let us help you keep it clean at Soapy J's. Soapy J's has unlimited wash plans to fit every budget. Try our $5 express wash or one of our 3 monthly wash plans. The Wheel Deal, the Soapy J, or the new Blast Wax. With our monthly wash plans, if you pay with credit card, all you do is pay for the present month and your card will be billed on the first of each month. Don't forget, Soapy J's has free vacuums with any wash. Soapy J's Express Car Wash, open 7 days a week. Let us help keep your car or truck clean at Soapy J's. Soapy J's on the Cumberland Gap Parkway, Middlesboro. Whether institutional case good or architectural woodwork, Nolan Products Incorporated of Knoxville has been serving East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, and Southeast Kentucky since 1958. From concept to finish, Nolan Products custom builds to the highest quality standards to meet your facility specifications while using only the finest materials available. Nolan Products has been serving and meeting the needs and requirements of general contractors and architects in East Tennessee and surrounding area for more than 55 years. Nolan Products Incorporated, 912 Forsyth Street Northeast, Knoxville.
Don't adjust your television set, folks. Yes, it is a full board here today as we talk LMU athletics. Scott Erland joins us. Adam Haley also here from the LMU Sports Network. And guys, you know, it's been one of those years where now we've got, for the first time ever, 2 teams going to the South Atlantic Conference tournament at the same time. And I'm talking about the finals, so to speak. And then, you know, Scott, for you, I mean, throw all the other sports going in right now. And if you've noticed, folks, the hairline's receding a little bit. Yeah, he's getting a little gray because of all this stuff going on, and this is what it did to me a long time ago.
Yeah, it's fun though. You know, I'd rather our teams be successful and get to cover winning teams. Especially the longer the basketball seasons last, the more fun that is for me and the people in my office.
Well, that's true to a point, but you know, from a sports information director standpoint, I mean, I know that you've got an X amount of hours in a work day, and obviously your work day is like ours here with the LMU Sports Network. It goes on deeper, starts earlier. You don't know how many days a week you're going to work, sometimes 8 or 9.
Yeah, the 8 to 5 doesn't doesn't really work in our profession.
Adam, you know, you've been tracking some of the stuff that's been going on with the regional tournaments. We're going to talk about that later, but as far as the sports go, obviously, you've been keeping track with what I have here in LMU athletics. Lacrosse team got off to a great start a couple of weeks ago. I think they got their first loss here recently. You know, women's lacrosse now underway. The golf team's underway. Tennis has gotten off to a rough start in conference play. But all in all, I mean, it's a time right now where, for the most part, everybody's successful.
Yeah, I mean, you got the baseball team. They've won a bunch of games. They're 2-1 inside of the conference when they go on the road this weekend. Softball's one of those teams that's kind of hit a rough start to the season. They've not even played at home though. I mean, they've got King coming up. I think it's next Wednesday at home for their home opener. So just a lot of stuff going on around the board. You know, I feel bad for Scott because as bad as it is right now for the tournaments, it's going to be even worse in April when a lot of these teams start making those deep runs as well.
Yeah, and you can't forget LMU cross country, or not cross country, but track and field. The men's and women's track and field teams obviously have been in full swing, and I think they competed recently over at East Tennessee State, didn't they, or somewhere here locally?
Yeah, it was ETSU. They've been there twice now.
Scott, you know, from your standpoint in your office, how are we going to handle all of this type stuff from a staffing point and getting everybody equal billing in terms of the media coverage over the next couple of years?
Well, I mean, when you add sports, and we're up to, I think now next year we're going to be looking at 21 sports, you're saying that you're just going to have to get more help. You have to get more staffing. You can't. And I know we've talked about that internally, about getting more help in the office and more people. And Matt Green's done a terrific job and Cam Wicker have done a terrific job of making sure that we have the personnel to cover all these new sports that we've got coming in.
Adam, I know that you and I have been talking quite a bit with our executive producer Tony Spinoza about coverage of various other sporting events. In the next few coming weeks, we've got some baseball games that we're planning to broadcast, some softball, and that's going to be a huge undertaking.
I mean, just this weekend, obviously, you'll be in Greenville with men's and women's basketball teams. But next week, Monday, we've got men's lacrosse. They're going to be home at the LMU Soccer Complex. Wednesday, as we mentioned, softball hosts King. Mm-hmm. We're doing that coverage, weather permitting, I should say.
Always weather permitting.
That's always weather permitting. Friday, we've got baseball in here, which I think they're playing Wingate next weekend. So we'll have that on Friday, weather permitting. And then potentially the regional tournament coming in after that. So it's going to be a very, very long week for the LMU Sports Network.
You can't imagine the man hours that go into just sports information alone, let alone sports coverage through the LMU Sports Network and the various sporting events that we cover. I've got the easy part. I just talk about it for the most part. Adam, you've had the opportunity. I really appreciate the service that you've done here over the last couple of games of not only setting things up from a technical director standpoint, you've turned that over to a couple of the other guys who have gained experience over the last couple of years, but sitting behind the mic. And there are times during the game when it gets tedious, but for the most part, that's the easy part of it. Yeah,
the pre-production part of building graphics, getting records, knowing where you're going, getting the rosters and all that, sometimes that becomes the hard part. So once they actually tip the game off, it's almost easy street.
Scott, 17 to 19 sports right now. You're talking about 21 a year from now. I mean, all those coaches have seasons going on. They all want something yesterday. The man hours with your office, I mean, you, Bill Porter, Joe Swanson, I mean, you can only do so much, so clearly that's a huge task.
Yeah, I think generally my philosophy is just put your head down and just plow through it, write your priority list, and plow through it. And I think we've done a pretty good job. You know, I think there's areas that we could improve upon, but like I said, just put the head down and plow on ahead and get it to May.
Well, folks, these are the guys that get it done in the trenches. Obviously, again, I'm just here the one that gets the glory of it, so to speak, in a lot of cases off the camera. But guys, we'll wish the other teams in spring sports right now the best of luck in the upcoming week. They've all got things going on, but let's move on and talk about some of the stuff that we intend to talk about here tonight on the show. No secret to anybody, the LMU men's basketball team has been rewriting the history books both here at LMU and in the conference. And it's been highly speculated that they would get the NCAA regional. I think it's probably going to happen. It officially has not been announced, but there'd have to be hell or high water for it to not happen, I think. But that said, I mean, a lot of people are looking into that. The surprise, though, has been now the LMU women's basketball team getting in as the 5 seed and then knocking off 4 seed to advance to their first ever South Atlantic Conference semifinals.
Well, and you look at it just a couple weeks ago, the women were in position to finish potentially as high as number 2 or to certainly have a home game, but then had a couple of late game, I guess you could say, just letdowns and ended up getting the number 5 seed. And then they go over there to Mars Hill, a team that beat them by 12 points on the road during the regular season, and get a win against a team that was also in position to be at the number 2 or 3 seed. So that's obviously a huge win for the women. They had never been to the semifinals, like you had said. They had won one SAC tournament game before, but that was essentially a play-in game, so not quite the same. So obviously it's great to get the monkey off the back there, and the women now go to take on the two-time defending Anderson Trojans.
Well, we're looking at the bracket right now, and Adam, I know this is kind of your Frankenstein creation. It's been something that you follow. You are the master, by the way, of the scenario. Let's call it that. I mean, we've had guys in the past who are master of statistics. They can remember everything on a rainy night in December with one foot in the air and the other one on a pedestal. But you've created the brackets here, and you know, when you look at the 4 teams going into the SAC semifinals, in your opinion, are these the 4 teams that should be there, that should have emerged to that point?
Honestly, you take a look at the 8 teams that played Wednesday night, and I think you could have picked any of the 4, realistically. LMU's got Anderson coming up this Saturday. That's a team that we lost, I think it was in double overtime here at home. A game that, if you look at it, we were down quite a bit down in Anderson, but we came back at the end. And I think Anderson's a very biddable team for the Lady Railsplitters. Wingate, Newberry, we've played Wingate very well. We beat Newberry down on the road in Newberry. I look at the Anderson game, though, for us, as almost a chance of revenge. Not from this season, but from a couple years ago. We talked about, myself and Scott talked about this past Monday. If you think about Anderson, the time they started turning it around was when we hosted the last time, and they knocked us off in the first round. So this is almost a revenge-type atmosphere for our Lady Railsplitters to finally show that they're going to be one of the top teams from here on forward and knock off Anderson.
Scott, LMU winless against Wingate in 2 meetings during the regular season. They took the Trojans to double overtime before falling. They went down to Anderson less than a week ago, actually about a week ago, and we're down, I think, 19 with about 3 or 4 minutes to go and cut it to 5 before falling. And then, you know, hey, now you're going to face off against them for a 3rd time. I'm with Adam. I like LMU's chances against Anderson.
Well, I like our chances against anybody because we're such a good rebounding team, and you know, when you can get yourself second chance opportunities, you can give yourself a chance to win. Like Adam said, I think there's so much parity in this league. You don't really feel like anybody is out of it. Double overtime here, like we said, went to overtime here against them 2 years ago. I like our chances, and I'd love to see us get revenge against the 2-time defending SAC champs to head on to the finals.
Wingate Newberry, the other semifinal game, and as we said, LMU winless against Wingate in the regular season, but they did just absolutely, possibly, in my opinion, their best performance. They absolutely pounded Newberry down in Newberry, South Carolina on December 19th to take a win over the Wolves in that meeting, and then it was a fairly close battle in Harrogate going into the final regular season meeting. So it's going to be an interesting tournament. One, I think that you know, really when you get to this point, you're a game away from the SAC championship. You can maybe focus on this one, take it into that last one, anything can happen. We're going to talk more about the upcoming tournaments, men's basketball, and the regional outlook right after this. Stay with us on the Railsplitter Athletics Report.
Dixie Roofing Incorporated of La Follette has been the industry's leader in commercial roofing throughout Knoxville, Tennessee, and surrounding counties for more than 30 years. From medical facilities to office buildings and educational institutions, Dixie Roofing has the experience, expertise, equipment, and know-how to handle roofing needs of any commercial structure, big or small. Dixie Roofing is also on the web at www.dixieroofing.com. Dixie Roofing Incorporated.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise and be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Everywhere that we go, he makes people laugh and makes people smile, and I feel like I have that quality.
He's the one who always takes me fishing.
I watch golf with him.
I watch him cook, because when I grow up, I want to be a cook too.
We have the same faces like this.
Dad is the one, when you fall, that picks you up.
That unconditional sense of presence and reassurance is really what makes him my father.
Welcome back to the Railsplitter Athletics Report. Folks, the LMU men's basketball team still with only 2 losses on the year. They are now 27-2 on the season. And guys, they have basically accomplished everything shy of an undefeated season that they wanted to. They went undefeated in league play, first time ever in the South Atlantic Conference. Most consecutive wins ever in the South Atlantic Conference. You think of their winning percentage over the last 2 years, it's just off the chain. But now, set before them, they've got to finish 2 more games before getting their, what I look at now as their 3rd goal of the season, before they can get into the NCAA regional. This is going to be a very historic time in LMU sports history if they can complete this task.
Yeah, I certainly think so. Obviously, they go into the conference tournament riding pretty high, 17-game win streak, won all 17 by double digits. Going to the semifinals for the 7th straight season. Have won 23 straight games now against SAC opponents. If you look back to last year's SAC tournament finals, just the things this team has accomplished have been just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of go off what he said there. LMU they've done the impossible so far. They ran probably in the toughest South Atlantic Conference season we've had on the men's basketball side. I mean, going into last night, you had 4 teams ranked in the regional rankings, with Lenore, Ryan, Wingate, and Queens being there as well. My fear, and me and Rusty have talked about this, me and you have as well, Scott, you talk about, they beat Tusculum last night, and that was the one team I've been worried about for a month. Now you're getting ready to play Newberry again, a team that knocked off Lenore Ryan. And when we talked to Shirts last night in postgame, it was a sigh of relief when Lenore Ryan's not going to be there in the semifinals, but it was almost still that dread because we know what Newberry can do. They're going to run up and down the floor. You still got Wingate and Queens. If LMU runs the table through the tournament and takes the conference championship in the tournament, you got to start worrying in the back of your mind, at least we do, is that loss eventually going to creep up, and does it do so here inside of the Texas Turner Arena for the regionals?
No, I don't think so. I think that we are playing so well right now. It seems like every time it's just we look like a machine. That's what I said after last night's game. I said the machine keeps rolling. You know, it's and we got this matchup with Newberry coming up, and the thing about them is we kind of know the storyline going into that one. It's going to be high scoring. It's going to be a lot of points.
Yeah, and again, I think I think this is the best opportunity LMU's had going forward, especially into the regional tournament. I think the guard-oriented between Simmons and Steele and Choice really helps out the LMU men. But I guess there's just that part of you thinks eventually, and I've seen other teams do this, you think there's going to be a letdown game somewhere, and you hope you don't catch a team that caught, like last year we saw Mount Olive in the 2nd round. They ran us up and down the floor, and it really exposed us. And you just hope that there's not going to be a team in that regional tournament that does that.
I think we've seen a number of teams that have tried to run us. I mean, Tusculum tried to do it on Wednesday night, and it worked out for them early. We made the adjustment and kind of capitalized on it, especially in the second half. Newberry does that on a game-in-game basis with us because they'll try to dribble drive you, as you said. They'll try to backdoor you, back cut you. Josh Shirts has said, if the shots aren't falling on those nights, that's when you got to defend really hard. If you're not defending hard, you got to outscore the opponent, and scoring doesn't seem to be an issue for us. I mean, even on nights where maybe shots haven't been falling, it's not been a case where they haven't been falling for everybody. Somebody's been hitting shots for us.
We can win in so many different ways. This team is so versatile. I think one of the differences between this year's team and last year's team is that last year's team was like an avalanche. They poured it on early, and we're used to playing in the lead. But if our 3 losses last year were the only 3 times we got punched in the mouth, where a team hit us early and got us down early, and then we couldn't respond. But this year, you've seen there's been a couple of times where we've had to respond. We've been forced to respond. Lenore Ryan had us down 19, I think, here at one point, and then we ended up coming back and winning that one by double digits. And we were down by 7 late in the second half against Tusculum and Bellarmine. Of course, we ended up losing that game, but that was a game where we had to take a bunch of punches, and I think we kept coming, and we're up to that challenge. So I think that's been one of the things that's been different, is that this team seems more they have a better ability to respond and bounce back, and they just have the chemistry is there to rally around each other when things are not going well.
Let's take a look at that conference tournament bracket again if we can. I want to get your guys' take on this. I'm looking at the bracket and seeing teams in there that had the potential to beat LMU. And right now, I'll be honest with you, I think out of the 3 other teams remaining in the semifinals, I think Newberry's got the best chance because Queens lost 3 straight going into the first round of the SAC tournament. I'm not sure what's going on over there, but for whatever reason, they have faltered here when they should not have. Wingate, I love Brian Good as a coach, but in my opinion, they don't have what it's going to take this year to beat LMU. I think Newberry's got the best chance.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, we saw LMU play Wingate twice. I got to watch one of those games, and in both of them, Wingate just did not match up well with Lincoln Memorial. I mean, LMU ran around them. Same thing with Queens. You talked about the 3-game losing streak. I think it was almost, I don't want to say almost like a letdown when they got beat by LMU over in Charlotte. I think it did kind of, almost to the point, hurt their feelings. And they, at that point, I think they realized they didn't have much else to play for. Now, they still had the opportunity to host the regional tournament at the time. But with losses to Tusculum, to Lincoln Memorial, and I think it was it Lenore Ryan got them as well, they've now dropped to 3rd in the region. So now they've got something back to play for. I think we saw that last night when they defeated Catawba. Now they've got something to play for with this tournament title.
Well, and to piggyback on what Adam said, the thing that's interesting about Queens, you saw Queens won pretty handily at Catawba or against Catawba last night, but Sean Morgan didn't play. And we saw Sean Morgan twice, and I don't know what there is behind that, but if he's not playing, then that obviously kind of kills their chances. Wingate, like he said, 33. We beat them by 33 and 46 this year, so really weird for a team that had been ranked in and out of the national rankings this year. But Newberry is a team that we've obviously beaten them 7 straight times, but they're a team that can get so hot from the 3-point line, and they can be scary because of that.
That's exactly my point, in that I feel like they've got the best chance because they shoot the 3 better than everybody else. And I can tell you for a fact from talking with Josh Mank down at Newberry, and of course he's alluding to some comments that Dave Davis has made over the last couple of years, they're really eager to beat us right now, especially in a tournament atmosphere. All right, looking at that field, I mean, you got a bunch of teams right there that are going to go to the NCAA regional regardless of who the winner is of the SAC tournament. Do we have the regional bracket we can pop up here?
We have the regional rankings.
Oh, there we go. That's the latest regional rankings right there. If you look through that, we've got a couple of minutes left in this segment. I mean, obviously, Lincoln Memorial, Queens, Wingate has fallen off. They're stocked back to the 6th position. Newberry's got to have a win in this tournament and take the tournament title, I think, to get into this regional.
Well, you take a look at that graphic, you're going to see an asterisk next to 9 of the 10 teams. The only team in the top 10 that's not playing in their conference semifinals right now is Lenore Ryan, and that opens the door up for a Lander, a Barton, or an Augusta, maybe a Newberry, that can find their way into that tournament coming up next week.
Well, the way that I understand it, though, just from talking to various people, is that Lenore Ryan in the point standing is actually closer to Columbus State than they are to Lander. So it would take Lander, or it would take a Barton or Augusta sneaking up and winning their respective conference championships in order to probably unseat Lenore Ryan, but it does obviously hurt their chances losing last night in the quarterfinals.
Guys, looking at that bracket right there, in your opinion, 3 conference tournaments taking place, Conference Carolina, SAC, Peach Belt. Will there be a dark horse come up and take one of the tournament titles?
Well, that's actually what I was getting ready to say. While we're looking at that graphic, the Conference Carolina semifinals will be a Saturday. You've got King taking on Mount Olive, who was the darling of the Conference Carolinas last year. And you've got Limestone, who upset Lees McRae, taking on Barton, who right now is in the 9th spot. In the Peach Belt, you've got Montevallo taking on Lander, which is 5 versus 8. And you have Augusta at the 10th spot taking on Columbus State in the 4. So you look at that, and there's realistically, 3 teams across all 3 conferences that have a team that's not in the top 10, that being Mount Olive, Limestone, and Newberry, that could potentially jump into those top 8.
Scott, get your take on it.
Well, the one thing I noticed is that Columbus State and Montevallo sitting at that 4 or 5 matchup. I'd really like for Montevallo to either move up or move down because we know our history in the NCAA tournament. And even though I would love the chance to be able to play them here on our home court and advance on.
A lot of business to take care of in the upcoming SAC tournament. We're a game away now as we face Newberry to go to the SAC championship. Guys, I'll go out on the line that I said to maybe you guys earlier in the week or maybe last week. If this team gets the NCAA regional, and I truly believe we will, it'll be announced this weekend, Railsplitters are going to Frisco.
I think it's a good, again, it kind of goes back to the statement I've already said. I think this team is set up better than any other team we've seen here in recent history in the regional tournament to go farther. I think this region's also setting up well for the Railsplitters. We've already seen, let's say Lenore Ryan makes it. You've seen 4 of those teams if you include King. So I think it's going to set up very well, and I believe we're going to outside of Dallas.
Scott? It's certainly not the most, I don't know if it's the most talented team we've ever had, but it's certainly the best combination of chemistry and talent and just the way the pieces fit together. I've got a good feeling about it too, Russ.
I tell you what, Folks, if you haven't been over, it's not too late. $5 tickets going on sale, providing we get the tournament. We'll tell you about that coming up next. Stay with us.
The Old Town Grill is a special place where you bring more than family, more than friends. Bring a hearty appetite, because at the Old Town Grill, you'll never walk away hungry. A delicious change from the ordinary. The perfect place to bring the entire family. The best food and plenty of it. Join the fun and treat your appetite to something special.
It's the OTG.
The OTG is the place to be.
Join the Vive Broadband TV revolution. Vive gives you the freedom to choose with loads of new channels like Up TV, The Hub, The Blaze, and Cubo. Vive's Watch TV Everywhere feature gives you the freedom to watch participating channels just about anywhere, anytime, on any device. And Vive Broadband Speed gives you the freedom to power internet TV services like Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV, and Google Chromecast. Join the TV revolution at vivebroadband.com.
If I got to go to college, oh my goodness. I like discovering new things. You get to see what works for you and what doesn't. That helps you evolve as a person. You get to make like a supernova of skill or talent or whatever it is. I've always wanted to go to college. I just feel like that's my destiny. My name is Queen, and I am your dividend.
Welcome back to the show. Final notes on this weekend's tournament. Obviously, there's a lot of people going down. Pep band going, as I understand it. LMU cheer and dance teams. They're taking, obviously, some of Abe's Army down there. Hyatt Place, I think, in Greenville. They're giving special rates if you want to go down and spend the night down there for LMU fans. So it's going to be a big tournament. We hope that you show up. Adam, I think you said tip-off times.
The women's game against Anderson tips off at noon. It'll be the first game in session 1. The men's game against Newberry tips off at 5:30. That's game 1 of session 2.
All right. Scott, I know that the all-SAC teams have come out. I know you're a little unhappy about certain things, but run those down for us. So we got a little more than 45 seconds.
On the women's side, we got Megan Pittman, a well-deserved first team, all-SAC first team honor. So congratulations to Megan. On the men's side, where I'm just going to run through this real quick. Jarrell Simmons and Luquan Choice are both all-SAC first teamers. Second team, Jalen Steele, he was the first one out of the first team, so almost 3 first teamers. Dorian Penton, all honorable mention. And Josh Schertz wins, I believe, his 3rd straight Coach of the Year honor. Well-deserved as well, 22-0. So there you go.
Unbelievable. I know that it is a huge feather in the cap. I know that the LMU team probably looks at it as second to what they're trying to accomplish right now. Guys, it's going to be a great ride over the next couple of weeks. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're going to see you next week. Appreciate you watching tonight's Railsplitter Athletics Report.